Hi, we're here today in the kitchen of my home with my lovely guest, Laurel Herman. Laurel is the Blissed Out chef, and I'm so happy to have you here with me today, Laurel. And I know that you do something unique that most chefs don't do, and you're talking about cooking with love and music. And we did a retreat together in October here in Michigan, and I'm so happy to have you here in Michigan. And I would love to hear about how you were inspired and your history of passion with cooking.
Well, that's kind of a bit of a long story. I started working with food when I was 15, and I don't want to tell you how many years later this is now. But the last 10 years, I've been working with organics, and I've been working with a lot of different people in the healing industry, acupuncture, energy workers, and I work a lot with music. And what I'm really trying to convey is that we have an energy, and we can use this energy in the kitchen to nourish our families, our relationships, and put the love in the food. And I use that, the vehicle I use for that is music.
That's so interesting. And how do you select your playlists?
It depends on the mood. Let's see, if I'm cooking for somebody who is ill, like sometimes I get cancer patients call me up, I use specific music like Carlos Nakai or a Native American flute to help me get into a heart space of compassion. So when I'm doing that particular work for them, I'm thinking about what is going to be the most nourishing for them, what's going to be the most healing for them. It depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes, let's on Valentine's Day, my coworker and I will listen to love songs all day, and you know, everybody has a song that means something to them, and you know, a past love or a family thing or a vacation they went on or a place they visited, and that song has meaning to them. So the idea is to reach an emotional space, and sometimes I use movie soundtracks because every time that we're watching a movie, we sort of drop into the picture somewhere. But the thing that helps us drop into the picture is the music. It hits us on, it paints an emotional landscape for us. And that's what I'm looking for, that emotional piece.
That's so interesting. And I know all the women on the retreat had so much fun with you. And I would love for you to share some of the dishes that you prepared and the songs, why you picked them for the meals that you were cooking.
Okay, now I'm going to see if I can remember which songs I picked for what meals. It's in my book right here. We're going to do a chicken tagine, which is a Moroccan dish, and I chose Marco Polo by Lorena McKinnon because it's got that sort of spicy sound to it. And when I work with, we're going to be doing chocolate cake, and I think I chose the movie, some of the soundtrack from the movie Chocolat, because it's very mischievous and fun, and that's the kind of feeling I want to convey with that. And let's see, what else? We're doing carrot soup. I don't even remember the name of the music I chose for the carrot soup, but that's a different kind of energy I'm looking at, the sacral energy, which is our creative energy. And the salad, I don't remember. I don't remember all the songs. There's so many of them. I have so many playlists. When I work with different places and different people, I create their own particular playlist. Like there's a playlist for the Blissed Out Chef, the book. There's a playlist for, let's see, my friends have a winery called the New Kent Winery, and I do some work with them.
How did this whole idea originate to use music with cooking?
Because I realized that when I was in the kitchen by myself very, very early in the morning, that I was almost getting into a higher state of consciousness, what some people will call the higher self. And you almost feel like you're removed from the everyday world, and you're in a specific headspace that feels very spirit-driven.
Very therapeutic.
It's very therapeutic, and I realized that, wow, this is really something. It's really, there's really something to this. It's not just a nothing, you know. In the movie, like Water for Chocolate, I don't know if everybody knows the story.
Movie.
Yeah, so this you know, and this is how I explain the energy to people. In the movie like Water for Chocolate, Tita is born into this family of Mexican farmers, and her mother, she loses her father at her birth, and she is designated to the kitchen to work with the cook, and the mother resents her whole life, and she's the youngest daughter. So Tita has to serve her mother for the rest of her life. So she grows up and she meets this wonderful man and she falls in love with him, and the mother forbids their marriage. So what she does, she meets this fellow Pedro. So the mother says, Pedro marries her sister so he can actually be closer to her. So she has to bake the wedding cake, and in her tears, she's stirring the cake, she's stirring the batter, and her tears fall into the cake. So everybody that eats the cake cries.
Interesting.
So
I do remember that.
it's not just a movie; it's a real energy, and we can tap into that. We can learn how to really connect to that space within ourselves, and we can apply this every day when we cook.
Well, you make sense to me. If I've had a really busy day and I'm rushing through the meal that I prepare here in this kitchen for my family, oftentimes I find that my meal doesn't taste as good as a day maybe that I'm off work and I take a lot of time in preparation. It seems that maybe I've poured more love into the meal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always feel better when there's a special occasion and I have people over, and I cook all day long for other people. So when I come home, I don't really want to cook. So I'm not supposed to say that, but that's the truth. So, but there's certain music that is good for me. I like listening to, my friend has a CD called Audio Pharmacology, and that actually works on the organ systems for, it's Chinese traditional medicine, the 5-element system put to music. So it's very calming, and it works on the different organ systems, and each food, each particular food that's grown in nature correlates to an organ system or some kind of relaxing music. Some people love jazz. Mm-hmm. Whatever you need, whatever went on through your day, you just kind of need to drop it before you walk into the kitchen, even if you're making something simple. Sometimes it's just a scrambled egg. And it's also good to acknowledge the days that you don't feel like doing it, and that's just as important.
So if I don't feel like doing it, and my favorite music would be Rachmaninoff, the pianist, if I put that on, do you think it might inspire me more in the kitchen?
Absolutely. It might inspire you because you're not, we talked about this earlier. It's kind of like when you're driving and you're on autopilot, and you know that you're driving, but you're not really driving. You're actually driving, but you can drive on, still get to your destination. So it's the same principle.
Very similar to the mindfulness courses that I teach.
Very similar to that, and you just you drop into that place in the music, and that's the thing that drives you instead of what happened during your day.
It's so interesting, Laurel. So I know that you've shared with me previously that in the kitchen, in your job as a chef, people have referred to as Lucy, and you referred to a Beatles song as well when we spoke before, and to the cameramen about their relationship with their wives, and when they cook at home or when their wives are cooking. Do you want to talk a little bit about Lucy and then go into relationships?
Well, I believe in having a sense of humor, and throughout my career, which is very long, I've had I wrote an article called Lucy in the Kitchen with Diamonds, and it's really great. It's really cute, and it's very funny. So you have to have a sense of humor, and when you're in a busy lunch service, things happen. So.
That's wonderful.
Like drop a big container of mustard all over the floor and have it go everywhere, or just things, funny things. They're really funny when they happen, and you have to laugh at them.
That's great.
And as far as relationship goes,
I know our cameraman James is a
newlywed.
We
just got married, and one of the things I teach is kitchen communication and how important that is. That if your husband or their spouse forgets an ingredient, don't yell at them. Make the recipe work. Make something work.
That's great. Improvise.
Improvise, and instead of saying, you can't do this, you always do this the wrong way, say thank you so much for doing this.
Wonderful.
And
advice.
it just, I had the experience of meeting a woman, I think I told you earlier, who was in her 70s, and her parents fought every day in the kitchen, and she doesn't cook to this day.
Sad.
And so how we treat each other in the kitchen has an effect on our relationship with food, and an effect on our relationship with relationships.
And how the food tastes as well, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, it is such an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you.
And what would you like to tell our viewers about any of your playlists, how they can find you, your amazing book, any of the upcoming work you're doing? How can they find you?
Well, you can find me on www.theblessedoutchef.com. My book is on Amazon. You can email me at Laurel at theblessedoutchef.com with questions or inquiries. You can order the book directly from me and I'll sign it, which would be great. And I do coaching. I work with culinary schools. I work doing retreat with you, which is wonderful. I hope to be doing more retreats, hopefully overseas, and just kind of spreading the love around a little bit. And I work on an individual basis. I do compassionate cooking for people with devastating illness. I do that once in a while when somebody calls me, and just helping people learn how to connect and get into not be afraid of their feelings so much, and just kind of let it all out and just enjoy it with their food and and their family.
That's so wonderful. I noticed on your book too that one of my favorite authors, aside from you, of course, is Bernie Siegel.
Yeah, he's
and
pretty
he
wonderful.
Endorsed your book.
He's pretty wonderful.
That's amazing. And now, if anyone in our community was interested in even hosting a private party and have you come, are you willing to travel back to Michigan?
I love Michigan. So.
Awesome. I know we joked that the Kroger was something that
I never saw a Kroger like that before. It was amazing. What a beautiful, beautiful area this is. It's just beautiful. I am open to anything and everything. I do private chefing for people. I do all kinds of different things. I work at a culinary school. I'm all over the place.
and went to culinary school in London, England. Is that
Right.
correct?
I went to Thames Valley University, and which was quite an experience. So because everything was in metric, and
Right.
so
Yeah.
I had to learn that.
Well, I'm so happy that you took time to allow me to interview you today, and I hope that we can have you back on the show in the future.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Laurel. It's great to see you.
Thank you.